All right, welcome everybody. We are going to learn about the Power Hour. Now, the Power Hour is one of the single most important breakthroughs in my entire career, and I would even say in my high performance, like intellectual journey. I worked with a professional sports psychologist. We're talking someone who's worked with NBA, MLB, NCAA, all the athletes, high performance surgeons, executives, and she shared something with me that was really, really impactful. In fact, two things, and I'd like you to carry that forward. She said, more or less, the single most important factor that determined the success of her multi-million dollar pro athletes. We're talking PGA golf. We're talking people who've played in the World Series. We're talking the pinnacle of performance was their ability to achieve and sustain focus. Lock, stock, and barrel. Their ability to achieve and sustain focus was arguably the number one most important attribute and practice they could develop in themselves. So, holy smokes, that sure says a lot in a little. Now, the second thing she shared with me, which I think is going to be really important for all of us to remember as we go power hour to power hour, is that she said, Tim, what do you think a pro athlete's high performance looks like? And in my mind, I was like, oh, I bet you they all have a perfect morning routine. And I bet you that after that, they are just like locked in and they've got like the whole world supports them to be as focused as possible during film study as they're studying their opponents and studying the playbooks. And when they're in practice, like everything is just like dialed in. And then they get like great sleep every night and great diet and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I could tell she was getting kind of a bigger and bigger smile on her face, kind of like you guys are getting big smiles on your face right now listening to me. She's like, well, Tim, I would love that if that was the case. She's like, the fact of the matter is elite performance is probably looks like a bunch of B days with A moments. That's like an Olympic level outcome is B days with A moments. And honestly, like I was both surprised and maybe a little bit relieved to hear that because of how hard I can be on myself with like, oh, I wasn't as focused and I didn't get as much done as I would have liked. So I think there's both parts need to be true. We want to be rigorous and high performing and pushing ourselves to perform at the highest possible level every single hour. And yes, our ability to achieve and sustain for many hours in a day high level focus, yes, yes, and yes, that is high performance as an intellectual athlete. Maybe I'm not a college athlete anymore. I was at one point. I'm not anymore, but I am an intellectual athlete. And that's how I think of every one of you as well. You guys are intellectual athletes. So yes, we want to push ourselves to squeeze out that next single power hour, even if it's just one more power hour this week compared to last week. And at the same time, understand high performance is B days with A moments. Okay, B days, and sometimes we have C days. Okay, so that's going to happen too. One difference between being an athlete, playing a round of golf or a football game or a hockey game, the difference is that as an intellectual athlete, the season doesn't have an end. There is no off season. And we also don't have like a 5 or 10 year playing career. We have like a 40-year playing career, 50-year playing career. Okay. So, I would be, yes, urgent that every hour matters. And at the same time, understand the game is going to be won in quarters and years, not in days and weeks. Okay. So even 1%, even 0.1% improvement day over day, week over week will really compound. And it's so true that we overestimate what we can get done in a day, but we underestimate what we can get done in a quarter. And many of you are good friends with Jimmy J's. And if you're not, I hope one day you get to be friends with Jimmy J's through our different programs. And Jimmy has one of the most remarkable quotes I've ever heard about success and performance. He said, we often overestimate the importance of goals and we underestimate the importance of momentum. We overestimate the importance of goals and underestimate the importance of momentum. And our power hours are designed to create momentum, both on an hour-to-hour basis and also on a week-to-week, month-to-month, quarter-to-quarter basis. Okay, so that's kind of the big picture about the Power Hour. And what we're going to cover today specifically is four things: some outcomes, learnings, assignments, and samples of success. So in terms of outcomes, through this training right here, right now, today, we will dramatically improve the quality and quantity of your focused work. That's what a Power Hour does. It dramatically improves the quality and quantity of focused work that gets completed. In this session, you're going to learn the format, the scoring, and the etiquette of the Power Hour. You're also going to learn some best practices of how to get the most out of every single Power Hour session. I'm going to give you a simple assignment, and then I'm also going to show you a sample of success. Okay, that's what we're going to cover here today. Okay, so the format of a Power Hour. When a Power Hour begins, you log into probably Zoom, although it is possible to do offline Power Hours. Usually they happen on Zoom. It's going to be a 1 hour session that's booked into your calendar, and typically at least one other person participating. Now, if you want to do Power Hours by yourself, you theoretically can do it. I'm just going to tell you that the odds of you doing your Power Hour and your Power Hour being successful, statistically speaking, go up significantly. And by that, I mean significantly if you have at least one other person doing a Power Hour with you. Now, if you're in a situation where doing a Power Hour with another person is not possible, you don't have a friend or a program or something that you're in, I have a alternative for you, something I've done in the past, which I'll mention in probably about 10 minutes from now. That is a good backup kind of plan B. Okay, so the Power Hour, 1 hour call with one other person scheduled, booked into the calendar. And in this Power Hour, the focus is on the process of focused work. So when you're starting a Power Hour, it's not today in the next hour, I'm going to write chapter 1 of my book. That would be an outcome. That's actually not the focus here. Okay. The focus is on the process. So it's saying for the next hour, I'm going to be working on chapter 1 of my book. If you get it done, great. If you don't get it done, no problem. I'm not concerned about the work product produced. I'm worried about the quality of the work product. If that's making sense, just give me a thumbs up to let me know I'm making sense over here. You guys are seeing the distinction. We're focused on the process of that hour, not the outcome of that hour, okay? So in the opening 2 minutes of a Power Hour, you're simply going to say what you're working on. Again, I'm working on chapter 1 of my book, not I'm going to get chapter 1 of my book completed. And this is going to be very important in just a moment. Okay, so opening 2 minutes of a Power Hour, what are you working on? And from there, decide with your Power Hour partner or group. I mean, sometimes I've done Power Hours with like maybe up to 5 people. Okay, so whether you're with one person or 4 other people, everyone says what they're working on. And then also you're going to want to choose video on or off. Some people find it really helpful and supportive to know that video is on, because there's like an accountability, like you can see what I'm doing. Have I run away from my computer to go get snacks or have I remained at my computer and working? Some people like that accountability. Other people feel creeped out by it and they don't want the camera on, okay? So just decide if your camera is going to be on or off. The group doesn't all have to do the same thing, okay? Everyone can make their own decision. What I am going to recommend is that audio is off for everyone, simply because that sound can become distracting, even if it's a door closing in the background or something as simple as that. So in the first 2 minutes, what are you working on? Video on or off. Middle 55 minutes of the Power Hour, you're going to work exclusively on the task area that you said you're going to work on. So if I've said I'm working on chapter 1 of my book, I'm not off working on my tax return, okay, or answering email, okay? I'm focused on this thing for the next 55 minutes. And again, this is silent work, so microphones are turned off, and we're going deep on that thing we said we're going to work on. And it is a challenge, especially in the beginning, if you're not used to working in this way. There are so many temptations to want to give in to our instincts to check our phone, check our text messages on our computer, check our email. The world is built to distract the heck out of us. So I think especially if you're new to this, you're gonna be shocked at how often you physically want to get up or physically want to switch tasks. The good news is, and I'm telling you this from experience, the more that you do it, the better you'll get at it, the more that your brain will get used to working in long, deep chunks. It is remarkable that this is a very trainable muscle. This is very, very, very trainable. and you'll be blown away at how much you can get done. Okay. In fact, you'll probably wish you would have done this like 5 years ago, 10 years ago, once you get into this style of doing power hours. In the last 3 minutes of any single power hour, make sure mics and cameras get turned on. And then with your partner or with the group, you're going to score yourself on your performance over those previous 57 minutes. Okay. So, what are you scoring yourself on? Here's how scoring works. Selection, 0 out of 10. To what extent did you select the most important task that you needed to work on? Or did you kind of work on something that was easier or less important? Now, I don't have like harsh criticism if you pick something easier. Sometimes that can be a nice strategy. If we need, if we've got a couple power hours in a row and we want to build momentum, some people are just good to drop into the hardest task first thing. They're more of the Brian Tracy eat your frog, like whatever your most unsavory task is of the day, you want to do it first, in which case, hats off to you. Other folks find momentum really works for them, where spending an hour doing more so buffer tasks or something that is less cognitively demanding can really fire them up and get them going. So I don't know where I find myself. I will say that I've found success with both approaches, the eat that frog approach and then also the like building momentum approach. Okay. So selection, 0 out of 10. And then after that, you're going to score yourself on execution, 0 to 10. So to what extent did you stay focused on your stated task through the hour? Or did you get up, check your phone, check email, use the restroom, get a glass of water, talk to someone who came to the door? And yes, someone coming to the door is a distraction to be managed as well. Okay. Did you take the dog for a walk? I mean, what happened? Did you pet the dog? Like, what happened? Okay. And so, at the end, once you've scored yourself out of 10 on selection and execution, then after that, you're going to multiply your two numbers together so you get a score out of 100. So for example, if I selected the single most important task, so I was analyzing a contract on a business I was looking to buy, okay, or I worked on that chapter of the book, or I did some spreadsheet analysis, or I built a custom GPT, or I built an AI, if it's the most important thing, 10 out of 10, perfect. I score 10 on my first measure. Then the second measure is going to be execution. So you know what? The dog did jump on my lap and I did pay attention to it for a couple minutes and I petted it. I probably got an 8 out of 10 or a 9 out of 10. Because aside from petting the dog for a moment, I was locked in. I was in the matrix. And I was locked in, wired up, and totally absorbed in flow state, focused. And even if it doesn't feel like flow state, I would just say I was focused. So, all right, great. So, I got a 10 for selection. I got a 10 for execution. That's a 100. Now, oftentimes, I would say, at least for me, and I'm not saying this is going to be for everyone, but for me, I find my selection usually is quite high. Usually it's an 8, a 9, a 10, something like that. And then it's oftentimes my execution number that is under a 10. It's because I needed to pee. It's because I didn't have a pitcher of water on my desk and I had to get up and go get a pitcher. It's because I forgot to put my phone on do not disturb or something like that, which actually isn't true for me. My phone's on DND 24/7, so never a problem there. Or I needed a chocolate. Oh my God, a chocolate. Got to have a chocolate. Okay. Because my brain's in like crisis and it's looking for a hit of dopamine. So it wants that sugar rush. Okay. So I oftentimes the execution to me can be more valuable. I'm a variable. Now that's just my journey. Okay. Now something else, and this has been my experience, is I'll actually see my score get better hour over hour over hour. So let's say I've got a 3 or 4 or 5 hour chunk of power hours where I'm going hour after hour after hour. I'll actually see my scores get better and better hour over hour because I'm noticing in the earlier hours what's dragging down my score, and I can literally improve on the spot for the next hour, the next hour, the next hour. Okay. So some best practices. As I mentioned, at the end of each hour, we're scoring ourselves, and you're going to notice what's holding you back from a 10 in each of the two areas, in selection and in execution, and then start to work on improving from one hour to the next. So some examples. I could put my phone on Do Not Disturb. I could put a pitcher of water on my desk. As you guys saw, I always have a pitcher right by my desk. I could find a music playlist to listen to that has no words. I don't know about you guys, but if there's words in my headphones and words on my screen, they start merging. It starts becoming difficult for my brain to reconcile all of it. Maybe you need to put a sign outside your door, politely asking people not to interrupt you, not to knock on the door, not to call your name, not to interrupt you unless it's like a matter of national emergency or medical, dire importance. Okay. Maybe turning off, minimizing, and or muting absolutely all devices such as an iPhone or an iPad, turning off or minimizing browser windows, especially if it's an email inbox, and or any apps on your desktop or your cell phone. Especially if you got like a social media app that's dinging, pinging, ringing. Oh my word, what an absolute crucifixion of your productivity is all that dinging, pinging, ring. Get it out of your consciousness, get it out of the space. Make the front-loaded decision to create a focused cocoon that you can go deep. Okay. Something else I've done, get noise canceling headphones. I have these things owe me not a dime. These are Sony, what is it? WXHM 1000, WH1000 XM2 something something. They're not just headphones that play music, but they're also actively noise canceling. So it cancels out outside noise. I got these refurbished on, I think, Amazon. So someone else had already owned them and the factory had to fix them. And I don't even know how many thousands of hours I've worn these things for. Actually, also conveniently good for planes. Noise canceling that low hum of that's on an airplane. Okay. So not saying that you have to do those, but I will say they have been wonderful for me. Maybe it's just as simple as closing a door to eliminate noise, especially those that you have kids and pets and whatnot running around the house. Or maybe it's doing your power hours at a different time of day when you can better focus. I get a lot out of power hours at the start of the day and the end of the day. I find it more challenging to do like a middle of the day power hour. That's just my learning and working style. And, I think it's important for you to find what works for you as well. Okay, so those are all just examples, right? Those are just examples. And what I think is so exciting about the scoring every single hour is we don't have to wait till tomorrow or next week to make an improvement. Like literally just picking a different playlist could make one power hour better than the last power hour. And we can be in just rapid improvement, which is really exciting and motivating. Some other best practices, kind of zooming out. I would say that establishing standing power hours each week, so hours that happen the same time, same day, every single week, maybe even with the same people. I think that's ideal because everyone understands the etiquette and the format. You don't have to re-explain it each and every time. So for example, we have our executive club crew. We also have our high performance games pro group crew. And that is, so those are structures and, we are in that conversation right now. Our Tuesday, Thursday mornings are wonderful for that. Within Executive Club and or High Performance Games Pro, if you're in one or both of those groups, you can reach out to your fellow teammates if you want to do additional power hours. So you're not limited to just doing power hours when Tim's in the room, okay? You can do them literally anytime, and you don't even have to do them with people who are in HPG Pro or Executive Club. If you've got other people in your world, in your life, maybe even a significant other who maybe they want to tackle something at the same time. And maybe they're not even doing deep work. Maybe they're like, hey, I'm going to go open the mail and do the dishes for the next 60 minutes. Will you be my co-working buddy? It could be as simple as that. Like, we don't have to make this difficult. I have actually had in the past a significant other. They were going on a walk around Town Lake, downtown Austin for like a little fresh air. And we didn't talk and they weren't even working. They were just like walking, but just to have them on Zoom for me was a little bit of accountability that went a very, very long ways. They were walking the lake. I was working on, I don't know, some kind of spreadsheet. Okay. So the standing hours are ideal to keep the momentum going. And then if you want to do extracurricular beyond that, that is absolutely like encouraged. Okay. Now, another best practice is in a power hour is that it is not a social club. Okay. I've seen a few kind of power hour groups and people fall apart when they spend the first 10 minutes of every power hour or any power hour catching up. How are the kids? How's the dogs? How was Christmas? How's New Year's? How's that project? Like, hey, can I show you something? Like, goodness gracious, we only have 60 minutes here. So if we're going to spend 10 minutes catching up at the start and 3 minutes rating ourselves at the end, that's already 75% that's left. Like there's 25% is gone of the hour. So you have my blessing and my encouragement, even though this breaks all the social norms and rules of engagement for humans, where it says, oh, we have to build rapport for the first 5 minutes of a conversation. No, you have my permission. We're not doing that. We're skipping straight down to business. Okay. Literally, we're talking a minute or less for one person, a minute or less for the other person, ideally less than that. I do like 20 seconds for each person. And like by the second minute of this call, microphones are off and we're into it. Okay. So if anyone's like off put or weirded out by that, blame Tim Francis. Just blame me, throw me right under the bus. You can let them know that you're happy to connect with them socially at another time. That's just not what we're doing here. We're doing a power hour. It's about GSD. Get stuff done. Okay. All right. Okay. So those are some best practices. So your assignment here is going to be to book your first power hour. Okay. Now, if you are an executive club and or HPG Pro, you already have power hours Tuesday, Thursday morning. So it's already an opportunity, just a golden opportunity sitting there. And so it's just a matter of you saying yes to that and continuing to show up Tuesday and Thursday mornings for those power hours. If you're not a member of one of those two groups and or you want additional time outside of those Tuesday, Thursday mornings, then the assignment is in your world, reach out and get that booked. Okay. So samples of success. As I've just mentioned, Executive Club and HPG Pro. I'm going to share with you one other possibility. So this is if you don't have someone to get together with at a time that you want to. So maybe you want to go above and beyond, or you want to go outside the times that we offer in HPG Pro and Executive Club. I've used this website for years. There's a website called focusmate.com. Now, at first blush, this seems weird, but it actually is kind of cool once you start using it. So what FocusMate is, you sign up. I think it's like, I don't know, $10 a month, $20 a month, $30 a month, something like that. And there's FocusMate users around the world, random people, students, engineers, attorneys, authors, consultants, the craziest range of people that have signed up for FocusMate around the world, total strangers, people you don't know. And you simply log in and you go to the calendar and you say, this is when I want to do a FocusMate 1 hour session. And it'll hold that placeholder, and strangers from around the world, they'll also say when they want to work. And if you get matched up with someone, and I mean, literally it could be like Doug from Canada, or it could be Prakesh from India, or it could be who knows. You get matched up with them, and then instead of Zoom, you actually log into the FocusMate video meeting at that time, and they don't know what a power hour is, and they haven't taken training with me, so it might be a little bumpy, different, weird, or whatever, but generally speaking, I would say it has been a very good experience for me when I can be warm and also efficient to say like, hey, nice to meet you. Where are you? Oh, you're in Ohio. Wonderful. I'm in Austin. What are you working on today? And to kind of like lead the conversation a little bit that way to kind of, let them know gently that like we're here to get things done. And they're there to get things done too. So most of the times they're just like, oh, sounds great. Awesome. You're writing a book. How cool is that? I'm working on my essay for my English classic literature class or whatever. Like, okay, awesome. Sounds great. Video on or off? I'm going to do video on. I'm going to do video off. Great. Awesome. Talk to you in 55 minutes. Right. And actually in FocusMate, it's not a 5-55 split. It's just a 50-minute work session. So you only get 50 minutes, not 55 minutes to get it done. Okay. So that is an option if you're not able to find someone in your own world, be that digitally or physically in your own world. If you want just total strangers, or you want to work at weird times, like in the middle of the night, like they've got people around the world who can meet with you in the middle of the night too. Okay. So focusmate.com. There are other websites and services like FocusMate that have popped up in the last year or two. I haven't tried those. They might be just as good or better. I just know that I've used FocusMate. I don't use FocusMate anymore. And the reason is because I just have so many other groups that I can do this with that I'm not needing kind of the outside support anymore. So that's focusmate.com. Okay, so specifically on how power hours work, does anybody have any comments or questions, even objections about power hours and how they work? Going once, going twice. Okay, so I will share this last item. This is the single most common point of confusion. So I'm just going to highlight this is when scoring yourself, it is going to be very tempting to say, oh, I said I was going to write chapter 1 and I didn't get it done. Therefore, I cannot give myself 10 out of 10 for execution. That, like, we're so outcome focused that we think in those terms. That's not actually what we're doing here. What we're doing is we're looking at to what extent did I achieve and maintain high level focus. And so if I said I was going to work on chapter 1, and in my brain I'm like, it'd be really nice to get it done, but I don't get it done, I can still score a perfect 10-10. As long as I was, as long as that was the most important thing for me to work on, selection, and I stayed focused on that the entire way through the power hour. Even if I didn't reach my goal of work product, as long as I've achieved my goal of process, that's worth a 10 out of 10. Okay. So, okay. Now, one other FAQ that comes up around this time is, well, Tim, what if my power hour is around outreach? Like, what if this is an hour where I'm reaching out to candidates for an important hire that I need to make? Or I'm in sales outreach where I'm reaching out to past customers or maybe prospective new customers, or I'm looking to upsell people. Okay. I'm going to need my email inbox, Tim. I'm going to need to send some text messages. I might need to pick up the phone. I might need to wade into these dangerous waters of distraction, right? If what you're doing is outreach and those are the tools for the job, use the tools for the job. Go do it. Maximize that inbox. Put it on a second screen, 96 inches, make it huge, project it on the wall. Like, get the tools for the job required. And if what you're focused on is outreach, texting, calling, DMing, then release the guilt that you're not writing your book. Release the guilt that you're not building the AI agent or whatever the other thing is. Give yourself fully to that task. Okay? If that's what it takes, use the tools. Okay? And score yourself at the end of that hour. How was your selection? Did you talk to the most important prospects? Did you reach out to the most high-value people but high-value opportunities that are the most likely to get you to where you want to go? That's your selection. Execution, were you on that? On it, like a dog on a bone through the whole hour. Okay? All right. So that is the power hour format. And those are some best practices and best ideas around it. I'm going to stop the recording here in just a moment. And then if we have any other conversation, we can do that post-recording.